Thank you for joining us on Instinctive Addiction Archery this morning. Got a good one for you here today. This is by request. We've had a lot of people that have been inquiring about arrow builds for lightweight bows. Okay, guys, as you know, we're doing a ton of arrow builds for lighter weight bows. Okay, be it the target arrow setup and the hunting arrow setup. Okay, so what I wanted to bring to you today was a little variety here of what we have been doing. And you guys may say, well, okay, I'm shooting a 40-pound bow. Let's just take 40 pounds, for instance. What kind of arrow setup do I need? What's really going to shoot good for target and hunting? What can I hunt with a 40 to 43-pound bow? Say anything under 45 pounds, because you guys, if you're in the 45-pound range, typically you're going to go up a spine, generally to a 500, and you're going to be able to run some significant weight up front on your arrows. Okay, but for the light pound bows, what can you really do and get real good performance out of a relatively light pound bow, let's say in that 40-pound range? Okay, guys, here it is. Number one arrow that we have been setting up would be an Axis traditional in a 600 spine. This is just one, for example. An Axis 600 with a 25 grain aluminum outsert in it and a 150 grain head gives you, matter of fact, I'll weigh it right quick, gives you a 428 grain arrow. Okay, not a heavy arrow at all, right? That's about 10 grains per pound or 11. It's plenty of weight to get by with. Now, you can simply go to a 175 on this thing and up your point weight by 25 to 50 grains, and it will still spine depending on where it's cut at. The determining factor on how much you can run up front on weight is how long the arrow is going to be. What we've typically been doing is guys with 27 to 28 inch draws, 28 and a half maybe, that would be cutting a shaft carbon to carbon anywhere in the 29 inch range. We've been running somewhere up to 225 in total point weight on the front, and they still spine just fine. Okay, now if you pass that, you'll probably need to go up to a 500. Now, if you want a little bit more weight in similar setup, similar trajectory, but you want a little bit more weight, one option you can do is you can go with something standard like the Gold Tip. This is a Gold Tip 600, Gold Tip traditional 600. This one has a 50 grain brass insert and a 150 grain head, which gives it 200 grains up front. Really good combination for a lightweight bow. These particular arrows were built for a 43-pound bow. A 43-pounder that the fellow wanted to hunt and target shoot with. An all-around arrow that will do whatever he wants to do. Because, as a matter of fact, if you take, like your brownhead choice, if you take the Magnus Stingers or the VPA 150 grain heads on a setup like this, these are more than enough arrow to get the job done. That's for sure. You don't have to really pass that with a lightweight bow. Now, the Axis, on the other hand, the Axis shaft, just to give you the differences in what we're dealing with, the Axis being a 204 inside diameter shaft, the Axis is a slimmer diameter arrow, which will equal less wind resistance, wind drag, and unaffected by wind in general. And the penetration is just a little bit better on them. Just a little bit. When I say a little, it is just a little. But yes, they do have just a little bit. As far as toughness goes, there's virtually no difference between the two. One shaft is just as tough as the other one is. But what you can get by with on your front weight depends on the length of the arrow. In other words, if you're willing to cut your arrow no more than 1 inch past your fingers at full draw, you can afford to load more weight and the arrow still spine because you can cut your arrow shaft a little bit shorter. And that's what a lot of guys choose to do. Now, we have a similar setup, and to tell you the weight difference, that was 428 grains. The Gold Tip 600 is going to weigh in just a little bit more because it's 7.8 grains per inch. a little bit heavier shaft. So this one here with the exact same setup is 475 grains, okay, as it sits. And then again, you could easily up this to a 500 grain arrow super easy by putting a 100 grain brass insert in it and running a 500 grain arrow on a 40-pound bow, which is more than enough. So that would be a very good hunting setup for sure. And we have another set here. This set was built for a 41-pound bow. This set of Axis 600s was built for a 41-pound bow, and we are running the true stainless 80 grain Victory Shock outserts in this one. Matter of fact, I'll show you guys. This is the pack. This is what they come in. This is the Victory Shock 80 grain outsert, which works very good on these 204 inside diameter arrows. It goes over the end of the shaft. It fully protects it. It is a stainless versus the aluminum, which aluminum is fine, but the stainless is just, it's indestructible, and you get a little bit more weight out of it too. But this particular build right here, this one would run right in the 500 grain range automatically, and you could easily up that by adding to your point weight, and it's still fine depending on what length. Now, these arrows that we have built here for these customers, these are all cut between 28.5 and 29 inches. Okay, that's just how these orders work. So they are perfectly tuned as far as flight characteristics, bare shaft tuning. They are perfect out of 40, 41-pound bows up to say a 43-pound bow. Now, when you pass this total point weight of, let's just say, 225 grains, and the arrow is 29 inches or more, you would need to go to a 500 shaft. And of course, that'll allow you to run more weight than these do too. But light arrow builds, this is a very popular thing. Many people are shooting light pound bows, and they want an arrow that performs really well. Now, when it comes to an all-around excellent shooting arrow, when I say excellent, I do mean excellent, and very, very affordable, is the Gold Tip Warrior. Okay, I'll show you guys one of these. Now, the Gold Tip Warrior is a very light 5.7 grains per inch. We're talking with stock inserts and 150 grain tips. This is only about a 380 grain arrow, okay? So there's going to be on the light side, but extremely fast, extremely hard hitting arrow that shoots incredibly well. And having such a light grains per inch and running some tip weight on it, that's why these arrows shoot so good. Now, you could easily up the point weight on this light shaft to be just as effective with this as you are the heavier shafts, absolutely, out of light pound bows. In other words, you could put 50 to 100 grain inserts in this thing and keep the 150 grain tip and get this thing well over the 400 grain total weight mark, which would give you more than 10 grains per pound and be very safe for any bow. But right now, we're shooting these in 3D. These are the 3D go-to arrows because even out of a lightweight bow, let's say 38 to 39, 40-pound bows at 27, 28-inch draws, these arrows are extremely fast and extremely flat shooting. So they're an excellent choice for all-around target shooting and whatnot. But when it comes to hunting shafts, we prefer to go with shafts that weigh between 7 and 8 grains per inch for the light bows, and then put our point weight on, giving us a finished arrow of at least close to 500 grains. That's the more effective hunting arrow. Now, you won't get quite as much flat trajectory out of them. No, you won't. But still, inside of, let's say, inside of 30 yards, it's not going to matter. They're going to be fine. You won't even notice the difference. But anyway, guys, this is just a quick look into what we're doing with the light poundage bow arrow builds. We've had lots of questions come in, as we always try to answer questions and try to address issues and things. And we've had multiple messages and calls pertaining to this as to what kind of arrow setup I need, especially for hunting out of light pound bows. There again, when it comes to hunting arrows, we recommend, probably over anything, we recommend the Axis 204 inside diameter arrow with a really good outsert system on it. and a minimum 150 grain tip. You can run a 175 very easily. But there again, it all depends on draw length. And if you're shooting a 40-pound bow and you're drawing 29.5, 30, 31-inch draw, whatever the case may be, yeah, you're definitely going to have to go up for sure in spine. But if you're under 29-inch draw and you're shooting a 40-pound bow, a 600 is going to tune out of your bow better than anything. Absolutely, it's going to. Great performers, there's no doubt about it. So these are just a couple of examples of some of the custom arrow builds that you can do, or we can do for you light pound bow, where you can actually hunt with the lighter pounds and not have to struggle. And there again, we carry the ethics systems, the gold tips, a variety of them. We keep about everything in here you can imagine to build these arrows with. And we do recommend that you don't go less than 8 to 9 grains per pound. And that means if you're shooting a 40-pound bow, you don't need a total arrow weight of much under 400 total grains for the longevity of your bow. In other words, it may not hurt it now, but it could down the road if you shoot it for years and years with a light bow. It's it's kind of next to dry firing it. You want to shoot a little bit of weight on there because it's not going to make that much difference in speed, and it does make your bow quieter. So find that happy medium, something like that that'll work for you, and that's going to be your best choice, guys. So thank you for joining us on Instinctive Addiction Archery this morning, and I hope you enjoyed this. And if you have any questions, feel free to message us or call us anytime, and we'll be glad to answer questions. If you need arrows, if you need builds, anything like that, we're here for you, and we'll be glad to do it, take your order, and get you fixed up right. Thank you, guys, and God bless you. Goodbye.